Galicia is actually a very interesting area. Um, Being in Spain, it's actually one of the areas that's closely linked to people from the north of Portugal, and both Portugal and Spain being of Latin origin, not traditionally in many years ago, but in a more recent history, you would think that they are linked pretty much only to people of Latin origin, but that's not exactly true. Evidence shows that from roughly around 300,000 years ago in the lower Paleolithic region or lower Paleolithic area, during the Paleolithic era, there's evidence of people already living here, and that lasted from about 300,000 years ago to about 5,000 years ago. There is evidence in various areas of Galicia that will show you this, as well as north of Portugal, especially close to the Minho River. Very notorious little man to crawl out from under a rock in Galicia was a man by the name of Francisco Franco. If you don't know who he is, he was Spain's dictator for many years during the 1900s. He was born on the 4th of December 1892 in a town called Ferrol, which is just on the other side of the Ria, opposite A Coruña, so in the north of Galicia. He died on the 20th of November 1975, and he was the dictator of Spain from 1939 until 1975, the year he died. So that's 46 years as a dictator. Ironically, during his time as the dictator, one of his policies was to enforce that Spanish or Castilian, the language spoken specifically in Madrid, obviously spoken all around the country, but it's known for being spoken in Madrid. He made that the national language. It's Spain's only official language of the nation. There are other regional languages from autonomous communities like we spoke earlier. The strange thing is that he grew up in Galicia, and along with Catalan and Basque and various other languages, Galician was also oppressed. So what that means is that in schools, people were not allowed to learn Galician. They were not going to hear it on the news. They were not going to hear it on the radio, on the TV. They were not going to read it in the newspaper. I've read conflicting documents to say that it was okay to speak amongst friends, but nothing in any official form, which I don't know if that's accurate or not. I don't know if it was totally prohibited, much in the same way that Basque and Catalan were, in which case you were not allowed to speak it even amongst friends and you could get into trouble. Galician, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you were not allowed to at all, or whether it was just totally made invisible. Now the thing with that is that it stripped Catalan, Basque, Galician, it stripped them of their prestige and their status as recognized languages. What it did was it made Castilian, the Spanish that they speak in South America, and the Spanish that you think of when you think of Spain, it made that the language of the government, the language of prestige and class and education. Society was based on Spanish. And if you were seen speaking the other languages, it was seen as second class, as a lesser than type of language, and you were seen as not sophisticated, as well as it obviously being oppressed. So it's a bit ironic that he came from Galicia, and Galician was also subject to this treatment. Luckily, there are publishing houses such as Galicia that are trying to Galicia, I think, that are trying to regrow the language. There are three main dialects of the language: Western, Central, and Eastern. I will probably speak about that a bit later. When Franco became the dictator, he assumed the title El Caudillo, and maybe some people don't really know how to translate that, because it's not really like a translatable word now, straight from what it sounds like. But people laugh at me. Etymology really is useful, and you can learn a lot if you actually if you read the etymology of words. So, for example, caudillo, it comes from Old Spanish captillo, which obviously in turn comes from Latin capitellum, and capitellum is the diminutive word for caput, meaning the head. So it was meaning the little head, the head of the state, as in the dictator. And it was a title that was given to people with both military and political power in the country. Obviously, Franco, coming from a military background, would mean that he could assume this title. I can't say it's probably not something you want to be called nowadays, but that's something that he prided on, was being a dictator. He tried to obviously privy up to the Nazis. I don't think Hitler thought highly of him, but yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why they stayed neutral during the war. But that's just my opinion. Don't take that too seriously. Decided to come and work on our laptops by the beach, so this was our office for today. One of the things, thank you. Uh, One of the things that happens here is when the tide comes in, it brings old fishing nets and discarded rubbish from the ocean, and it piles up on the beach. You can see like bits and pieces here, but okay. But one thing we really like about Galicians is that they are very proud of the place that they come from, and they have a lot of respect for Galicia. So if the government maybe is not doing something, or maybe they are, but not as fast as they can, or whatever, you will often see Galicians cleaning up the area around, even if it's not their own rubbish. So we took some inspiration and decided to help them pick up some of the old fishing nets. But you see many people do this. Just when we were coming down, there's a staircase. There's a staircase there on the down to the beach, and the tide had brought the sand in and actually made like a pile of sand over the stairs. So it was not safe really for people to walk down if you're not like sure-footed or whatnot. And we saw a little old lady with her own bucket just scooping all the sand off of the steps. So we thought, okay, let's go and help her. And I think you don't see this very often. People being very proud of where they come from and going out of their way to make it better for everyone else. As you'll also have seen through a lot of my shots that I've showed you, Galicia is quite an agricultural community and big into fishing. It's one of the biggest industries, I suppose, in Galicia, and that is that's because they've got such a long coastline for such a small area. Specifically, if you're in the region near Vigo, if you're in the region near Pontevedra, I'm not sure around the rest of the parts, but we've been staying in this area, so it's a bit easier to just say this area. You will see a lot of oyster farms and a lot of fishing boats. This area is also quite well known for other boaters, especially pleasure boaters in the context of the orcas. Since the pandemic in 2020, orcas have started becoming more prevalent. So the orcas started in this area, and they've spread down the coast of Portugal to the Strait of Gibraltar. And what happens is, if you come with your sailing boat and you get caught around orcas, they usually attack the boats nowadays. No one really knows why, as far as I'm aware. But it's something that boaters need to be aware of when they come to this region. I believe the emergency services are on standby and ready waiting. I mean, they're always on standby, obviously, but they are specifically waiting for calls from boats that have been attacked by orcas nowadays. So you're not usually in much danger to your person, but very often your boat will sink, and that's just the way the Burgos bends, I suppose. feature in Galicia, especially in the agricultural and rural areas of Galicia, is that they've got things known as orreos, and these orreos are used to store grain traditionally. I have seen some being converted into, I don't know, like a sunroom where you can lounge. But mainly they are used for grain storage, and they're designed to keep the grain off the ground so that they don't soak and they don't rot. You can see this also with a lot of the plants, the way they're designed, like especially vine-style plants, where they're designed on a frame to grow about 6 feet off the ground, and that's to allow them to drain the water off. Otherwise, they just sit in too much water, and it's just not healthy for a plant. Too little water is also not healthy, but too much water is also not healthy. And Galicia rains a lot. It's not something you would associate with Spain, but it's something, compared to England, I think it rains the same, or maybe even more. I'm not sure. It's the price you pay for having such greenery around you, and it is a very, very green area, very picturesque. Something that you might know about Galicia, or maybe you know of this thing I'm going to talk about, but you didn't know it was in Galicia, is El Camino de Santiago, St. James's Way. It's a very, very, very old pilgrimage walk, where it's the Church of St. James, and people from all around Europe come walking. Well, I mean, from all around the world, but they start in Europe. You obviously can't start in America. It's unless you can walk on water. But famous routes are from France, from the west coast of France, from different areas in Spain, from Naples in Italy. That's the longest official walk. Each of the official routes have their own names. And you walk on a pilgrimage all the way from wherever you start to Santiago de Compostela, which is the name of the church. And if you follow the signs, there are little shells on the signs that will guide you along your way. And I don't know the full process of how it works, but what you do is you go and get a booklet from, I suppose, one of the starting points from the churches. They give you a booklet, and in this booklet, when you go along your walk, you get, I believe, free accommodation in a lot of places, as long as you're getting stamps along the way to prove that you are doing the walk, and you get discounts at restaurants. In the area where we're living, you don't hear English being spoken at all, and that's, I mean, for obvious reasons. It's not a place where English is spoken. But as you get closer to the church, which is, I mean, it's a cathedral, it's bloody massive, you start hearing more and more people speaking English because of the amount of tourists that do it. It's based in a city called Santiago, which is about halfway between probably the two biggest cities in Galicia. That's Vigo and A Coruña. moment we're in Spain, which is part of the Iberian Peninsula. That includes Portugal and I suppose Gibraltar also. Spain itself is divided into 70 autonomous communities. The one we find ourselves in is in the very northwest. Well, I suppose for you guys it'd be that way, very northwest. That's called Galicia. It's named after, it was a Roman word, Galaiki or Kalaiki, which comes from a Greek word, Kalaiki, or something like this. I don't speak Greek, so I'll probably butcher the pronunciation. Within Galicia, you've got 4 provinces. You've got Ourense, A Coruña, Lugo, as well as Pontevedra. We are in Pontevedra. Pontevedra divides itself into 61 counties. Part of these counties includes Vigo, Pontevedra itself. Within Pontevedra, we are in a municipality called Sanxenxo. It's named after San Penco or San. I'll get the name. I can't remember it. Sanxenxo itself is then divided into 5 smaller towns, of which we have Nuaja, which is where we are, and then Nuaja itself is then divided into 28 smaller villages. The one that we are staying in is called Ponte de Ons, but there's other ones, Freixo, well, many. The beach that we are sitting on is called Praia da Lançada, which is like the beach of the throne or something like this, and I'm not really sure what it's supposed to translate to. And it's the main beach in this area. It's on a peninsula that goes to another municipality called Ogrove. It's a surfing beach. You can see some surfers there. And I can tell you for sure, the water is ice cold. Here in Galicia, they do a lot of cool things, a lot of local festivals and stuff. And one of the cool things I've found is that they have things like this. For example, they have the rally. Last week 3 weeks ago, we wanted to go to the Portuguese rally, but we missed that one. And we found out that there is one just on our doorstep, so that's pretty cool. And yeah. And we'll show you also what. Don't want to get run over. Yeah, it's always cool to come across these things. I suppose we'll end there. Yeah.
alone.